At 43, Ivanka Trump has finally broken her silence, not with a carefully crafted political strategy, but with something raw, vulnerable, and profoundly human. For the first time, she openly chose family over politics in a way few ever imagined. For years, Ivanka had been the polished golden girl of the Trump empire, balancing fierce loyalty with quiet self-preservation. Yet every balance eventually reaches its breaking point, and for Ivanka it came after the shocking assassination attempt on her father during a rally in Pennsylvania. Before we dive into this captivating story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of our exclusive stories about power, wealth, and the hidden truths behind the world's most talked about figures. After nearly 2 years of silence, Ivanka returned not with fiery campaign speeches or polished public appearances, but with words soaked in raw emotion. "Thank you for your love and prayers for my father and for the other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania," she wrote. And then, in a tender whisper, meant for one man above all others, she added, "I love you, Dad, today and always." That single heartfelt post carried more weight than any speech she had ever given. It was not merely a reaction to tragedy, it was a quiet declaration of where her heart now stands. Back in 2022, Ivanka had already made it clear, "While I will always love and support my father going forward, I will do so outside the political arena." For someone who once served as a senior White House advisor, someone who once lit up the campaign trail beside Donald Trump, that quiet statement felt like an earthquake inside the Trump inner circle. And since then, her absence has spoken louder than words. She has deliberately skipped key political events, even the Republican National Convention where her speeches once made headlines. Jared Kushner, her husband, has been equally candid about stepping back, reinforcing the decision that theirs was no longer a political household. And so the world kept asking, "Where's Ivanka?" But over time, her silence became its own answer. She is keeping her distance, speaking only when it matters most. And when asked bluntly about Ivanka's political future, the reply was immediate and absolute zero. No conditions, no hesitation, no maybe someday, just zero. For some, that clarity was shocking. But for Ivanka, the decision was never really about politics at all. It was about something far deeper, far more personal. In a rare and unguarded podcast appearance, Ivanka Trump revealed a truth few ever expected to hear from her lips. With a voice stripped of pretense, she admitted politics. "It's a pretty dark world. There's a lot of darkness, a lot of negativity, and it's just really at odds with what feels good for me as a human being." It was raw, unfiltered honesty, the kind you almost never hear from someone who has lived her entire life under the blinding spotlight of power and privilege. And in that moment, you could tell every single word came straight from her soul. But what could possibly pull her away from the kind of power and visibility most people spend their entire lives chasing? The answer, at least in part, was loss. In July 2022, Ivanka's mother, Ivanka Trump, died suddenly in a tragic accident. The woman who had been her first role model, her first teacher, her anchor, was gone in an instant. A close friend later described it as a turning point, saying, "I think losing a parent definitely leads to a real awakening. It makes you realize how short and fragile life really is." For Ivanka, that loss shattered something inside her, while at the same time it awakened something even deeper. And loss was not the only force reshaping her life. While the headlines speculated endlessly about her political future, Ivanka was living a very different story, one far away from podiums and campaign trails. Quietly, she devoted herself to family. Few people knew that she had taken on the role of primary caregiver for her 98-year-old grandmother, a responsibility both humbling and demanding. At the very same time, she stood unwaveringly by Jared's side as he endured not one, but 2 surgeries for thyroid cancer. In those moments, politics didn't just fade into the background, it ceased to matter at all. Loss, illness, caretaking all unfolding at once, all while the world still expected Ivanka to appear on a stage and perform the role of the perfect political daughter. It's no wonder she chose to walk away. According to one insider, this chapter of her life has brought her a kind of peace she hadn't known in years. Now they said Ivanka has the freedom to focus without being stuck on the treadmill. It feels really good. It's liberating. Honestly, this might be the best time of her life. And maybe that is what so many forget when they see her name in headlines. Behind the politics, behind the dynasty, Behind the golden Trump image is a real woman, a daughter grieving her mother, a wife standing by her husband through illness, a granddaughter holding the hand of her aging grandmother, a mother determined to raise her children in peace. Not a political figure, not a brand, just a woman who longs for a life that feels true, a life that finally feels right. So when Ivanka posted that heartfelt message after the assassination attempt on her father, there was no calculation behind it, no strategy, no political maneuvering, no eye on the next election. It was pure born of love, grief, and the instinct of a daughter simply showing up for her dad in the most human way possible. And in that one timeless sentence, "I love you, Dad, today and always." She spoke more powerfully than 1,000 campaign speeches ever could. In a world obsessed with power, image, and strategy, sometimes the strongest act of all is raw and filtered honesty. So when Donald Trump announced his 2024 presidential run in November 2022, many assumed Ivanka would once again step back into the spotlight. After all, she had been a central figure in his previous administration, a polished presence in Washington's political machinery. But to the shock of even those closest to her, Ivanka made a very different choice, one that was firm, unshakable, and deeply personal. "I love my father very much. This time around, I am choosing to prioritize my young children and the private life we are creating as a family," she said. With those words, Ivanka quietly closed one of the most defining chapters of her public life. Turning her back on the power, access, and adrenaline of Washington was not easy, but according to those who know her best, she had already given everything she had during her years in the White House. As one insider bluntly put it, she left it all on the field and doesn't miss it. Ivanka didn't just step away from politics, she stepped into something else entirely. Motherhood, family, a slower, more intentional way of living. Today, she calls this one of the greatest seasons of her life. She treasures the small, everyday moments she once had to squeeze between policy briefings and political obligations. Her children, Arabella, now 11, Joseph, 9, and Theodore, 7, are growing up quickly. Ivanka knows these years will slip away in the blink of an eye, and she refuses to miss them. "I've thrown balance out the window," she admitted with a laugh. "I don't even strive for it anymore, because I don't like to intentionally set myself up for failure." Instead of chasing the elusive dream of work-life balance, Ivanka has shifted her focus to something simpler but more meaningful: presence. Being fully there for the morning chats, the school pickups, the playful moments, the quiet heart-to-heart talks. Life in Miami has given her the breathing space she longed for, a life lived on her own terms, far from the constant flash of cameras. That loss reshaped her entire perspective, forcing her to see with painful clarity what and who truly matters. "It hits you at the very core of who you are," Ivanka reflected when speaking about losing her mother. In the shadow of that heartbreak, she has clung even tighter to what she holds most dear: her children, her memories, and the enduring legacy of love Ivana left behind. Ivanka has often said that raising her children is the most meaningful way she can honor her mother's life. Beyond that, she has also embraced another deeply personal role, caring for her 98-year-old grandmother, Marie Zelnichkova, lovingly known as Bobby. Living with the family in Miami, Bobby has become a cherished heart of their household. Ivanka lights up when she talks about Bobby calling her the reigning champion of family game nights, laughing at how she still manages to beat everyone at Jenga. These moments, small yet priceless, remind Ivanka that stepping away from politics was never about retreat. It was about choosing joy, choosing love, choosing what fills her heart. She carries no bitterness about her past, nor does she slam the door on public life forever. But for now, she has set clear boundaries, ones built from love loss, healing, and the quiet happiness of home. Could she return someday? Perhaps. But if she does, it will be entirely on her own terms, never at the expense of what she values most. For now, Ivanka is not a political symbol or a public figure. She is simply a daughter, a mother, a granddaughter, and a woman determined to live fully present in each of those roles. And really, isn't that something so many of us can relate to, whether we carry a famous last name or not? Beyond the walls of her private family life, Ivanka has been carving out a new sense of meaning, one small but deeply human act at a time. Sometimes it's quiet philanthropy, sometimes it's personal hobbies that bring her genuine joy. Since leaving the political stage in Washington, her focus has shifted. She's been trying to live differently, more grounded, more intimate, and as many say, more authentically human. It almost feels as though she's been on a deliberate journey of reinvention, far away from the relentless glare of cameras and the intoxicating pull of power. And how has she been doing it? Not with fiery speeches or glamorous media tours. Instead, she's chosen the quieter path, hands-on community service. Those close to her say she's poured herself into volunteering with a surprising level of energy and devotion, even shocking some who once worked alongside her in the White House. And those who've watched her closely insist she's not doing this for appearances. Nor is she chasing a new brand of fame. They say Ivanka truly means it. She shows up, rolls up her sleeves, and works quietly, far away from the cameras. When Hurricane Helen devastated Western North Carolina, she didn't just lend her name. She partnered with CityServe, flew in herself, and personally handed out hot meals, essential supplies, and comfort to families who had lost nearly everything. And it wasn't just a one-time gesture. After Hurricane Ian tore through Florida, Ivanka was seen again, this time in Fort Myers and Naples, working inside massive community kitchens. She cooked, she served, and she made sure first responders were fed and cared for. She wasn't there for photo ops, one volunteer remembered. She was right there beside us, sweating, sorting supplies, cooking, talking to families. It was real. It was genuine. Her work hasn't been limited to hurricanes either. When wildfires ravaged parts of Los Angeles, Ivanka appeared again, this time, helping coordinate logistics, speaking with exhausted firefighters and standing shoulder to shoulder with volunteers in crowded emergency shelters. She handed out blankets, shared simple but heartfelt words. "Thank you for being here." It wasn't grand, but it was deeply human. And still, her dedication goes further. In Miami, she's become a familiar face at the Jewish Community Services Kosher Food Bank, a lifeline that supports over 400 families a year, including 70 Holocaust survivors and 225 children. Those who've worked alongside her say she doesn't just drop off groceries and leave. She stays, she listens, she connects. She lingers a little longer now, listening with patience, embracing with warmth. Sometimes she even brings her children along, letting them see with their own eyes what it truly means to give back. It's a stark contrast to the polished, untouchable political figure the public once knew. This Ivanka, the one carrying a food box for an elderly survivor to her car, or sitting at a folding table sharing tea while listening to someone's childhood memories, feels like a woman who has chosen purpose over power, meaning over titles. Friends whisper that this chapter has given her peace. She's no longer chasing headlines or political victories. Instead, she's chasing moments, human connections, quiet stories, small acts of kindness that rarely make the news. She admits that helping someone rebuild after a storm, or sitting at a food bank, listening to an elderly woman's life story, has brought her more fulfillment than the highest stakes political meetings ever did. And it makes you wonder, was this side of Ivanka always there, hidden beneath the heavy weight of politics and public expectation? Of course, skeptics will remain questioning her motives. But maybe this new season of her life isn't about reinventing herself for the world. It's about rediscovering who she has always been. Because sometimes the most meaningful journeys begin right after we walk away from the life we thought we wanted. In recent years, Ivanka Trump has been quietly reshaping her world in ways far more grounded than anyone could have imagined. She has stepped out of the blinding spotlight of politics, leaning instead into personal growth, stripped of the glossy surface of influencer culture. Her path is raw, authentic, built on sweat discipline, and even a little dirt under her nails. Perhaps the most surprising shift of all, she has taken up jiu-jitsu training seriously under the renowned Valente brothers in Miami. Her dedication has already earned her a blue belt, a symbol of grit and perseverance. This journey began not with politics, but with her daughter Arabella, who asked to take self-defense classes. What started as a mother's support for her child grew into a discipline that reshaped Ivanka's strength, both physical and emotional. That one request snowballed into something much bigger. What began as a simple way to help her daughter feel safe soon transformed into a shared ritual for the entire family. It became more than just a routine. It was a discipline, a reminder that even the smallest choices repeated daily could blossom into life-changing habits. But Ivanka's journey of reinvention doesn't stop on the yoga mat. She has found exhilaration in the rhythm of the ocean, chasing waves along the shores of Costa Rica, and even testing her skills at Kelly Slater's world-famous surf ranch. The image is almost surreal. Ivanka Trump, once the polished first daughter, now out in the open sea carving her way across waves with a freedom and strength that few would have ever imagined for her. Perhaps that's the very definition of growth, the courage to reinvent again and again. Yet for all the adrenaline she finds in surfing and the discipline she builds on the mat, Ivanka's most cherished piece comes from something much quieter: gardening. For her, it's not about creating perfectly manicured flower beds or showcasing beauty for others to admire. It's about something deeper, something intimate, kneeling in the dirt with her children, planting seeds side by side and savoring the fleeting, precious moments of togetherness. In her eyes, the garden is less about flowers and more about memories. Memories that bloom long after petals have withered. And it makes you wonder how many of us only learn to appreciate the quiet beauty of simplicity after walking away from chaos. Ivanka, in her own way, seems to embody that lesson. She has not disappeared from professional life, but she has certainly changed gears. Real estate, the field that has always run through her veins, is once again at the center of her career. This time, though, she isn't chasing headlines or building glossy brands. Instead, she's focusing on quiet, long-term projects. One of her most ambitious undertakings, a sweeping 400-acre island development in Albania. Yes, Albania. You won't see it splashed across the tabloids, but those who know her well say she is hands-on, deeply involved, and fully committed. It feels like Ivanka has circled back to her roots, but with more wisdom, more patience, and far less noise. Some even say she's more powerful now than ever before. Because while she may have stepped away from the political stage after her father's presidency, insiders quietly admit Ivanka has never truly left the game. She has simply shifted roles, no longer the face in the spotlight, but the steady hand behind the curtain, shaping the story in ways the public rarely sees. It's a delicate balance, one that feels almost paradoxical. Publicly, she seems absent. Privately, she is fully engaged. Friends close to the family reveal that Ivanka still speaks with her father, often, especially on matters of weight, political strategy, campaign messaging, or how to navigate trusted but sometimes complicated advisors. Yet she does it entirely on her own terms. No speeches, no rallies, no press interviews, just quiet counsel whispered behind closed doors. Those who have sat in the same room confirm a simple truth: she still has her father's full attention, particularly in moments when a softer touch, a more polished presentation is needed. Ivanka has always had a gift for connecting with audiences in ways her father cannot. Donald Trump, by his own admission, often struggles to reach women suburban voters, young professionals. He knows this, and he values her for it. Her sharp business instincts only reinforce that trust. Long before politics, Ivanka had mastered the art of branding, messaging, and presentation skills she now applies discreetly from the sidelines. Even without an official title in her father's 2024 campaign, insiders insist she remains a quiet strategist, offering advice when the stakes are highest, when a single decision could shift the course of the race. Her presence may be hidden, but her influence is unmistakable. What makes this chapter of her life remarkable is the balance she's carved for herself. Unlike her high-profile years in Washington, Ivanka today carries a softer, less political image. She devotes more time to her children, lends her energy to philanthropy and wellness projects, and makes appearances at cultural or fashion events rather than political rallies. It is as if she is quietly rebranding herself, carefully reshaping her identity without severing the invisible thread that still ties her to the Trump legacy. Some might question whether it's even possible to distance yourself from something as polarizing as Trump-era politics without walking away completely. Yet somehow Ivanka has found her formula. She remains connected but not exposed, present in the loop yet absent from the spotlight. Her quiet presence behind the curtains often speaks louder than any fiery speech could ever hope to. She may not be raising her voice at campaign rallies or throwing out sharp sound bites for the cameras, but her influence still flows subtle, steady, undeniable. This is not disappearance. This is strategy. It's a deliberate repositioning. And in a world that thrives on noise and spectacle, Ivanka's silence may be the loudest voice of all. And while Ivanka has chosen discretion, Jared Kushner has taken a different path, one that ensures he's never truly out of the frame. The political stage has shifted since the Trump administration left Washington, but Jared has not faded into the shadows. Quite the opposite. He has remained surprisingly active, especially in the Middle East, a region where he built one of his deepest networks as senior advisor to the president. Those who know him say Jared never let go of the momentum sparked by the Abraham Accords, the historic agreements that normalize relations between Israel and several Arab nations. Instead of retreating into the comforts of private life, Jared charted another course. He launched Affinity Partners, a private investment firm that may be business at its core, but also functions as a discreet doorway into high-level geopolitical conversations. Through this venture, he has managed to maintain close ties with key leaders in the region, relationships forged during the Trump presidency that have since matured into trust and familiarity. It's proof of a simple truth: some may step away from office, but they never truly leave the game. For Jared, his ties in the Middle East are not just about investments or market opportunities. They are connections to the region's most vital conversations about its destiny and future. Some believe the warmth Jared still receives from powerful leaders is not simply born out of financial ties, but from the pivotal role he once played in drawing nations to the same negotiating table, something even his fiercest critics never thought he could accomplish. Observers note that while his current ventures are no longer officially tied to the U.S. government, the quiet ripples of his influence continue to be felt in American foreign policy. Jared has managed to preserve his relevance without an official title, without a White House badge, and without the trappings of public office. It is a carefully calculated way of staying influential, quieter, more restrained, but perhaps more powerful. In many ways, it feels like a strategic continuation of the Trump family's presence in world affairs. Only now his power is exercised not through podiums, press briefings, or state dinners, but in closed boardrooms and on private calls that shape outcomes away from the cameras. Supporters describe his approach as deliberate and patient build. Trust remain consistent and let the record of accomplishments speak louder than words. Yet critics ask with a wary eye why someone from a past administration should still command such direct access to today's global power players while living as a private citizen. Perhaps that's the very essence of true influence. It does not always reside in the Oval Office. Sometimes influence operates in shadows, shaping dialogue, forging alliances, and shifting destinies in ways the public will never fully see. One truth remains undeniable: Jared Kushner's chapter with the Middle East is far from closed, and strikingly, the region itself seems in no hurry to turn the page. If Jared is still quietly playing chess on the world stage, then one must wonder, what does that say about the rest of the Trump family? For years, the Trumps were not merely a family, they were a brand, a force, a symbol of wealth and influence, where personal relationships and political power intertwine seamlessly. Yet over time, that dynamic has shifted in subtle but undeniable ways. Observers began to notice a change. Ivanka Trump, once the polished public face of the Trump empire and a trusted advisor in the White House, was no longer at her father's side as often. Her absence didn't arrive with any thunderclap announcement or bitter family feud. Instead, it unfolded quietly like a curtain, slowly lowering at the end of a performance. It was a gentle retreat, a deliberate step back from the relentless glare of the spotlight. To the outside world, it might have seemed like Ivanka had cut ties or, worse, lost her influence. But the truth was far more layered. Behind closed doors, away from the cameras, she continued to hold her place, not with fiery speeches or campaign rallies, but with subtle influence whispered in private, yet powerful enough to shape the family's direction. Naturally, this absence sparked questions. If Ivanka wasn't standing beside her father every day, then who was? The answer soon revealed itself: her brothers, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. They had always been part of the family picture, but now they were stepping forward, stepping into roles that demanded more visibility as their father's political ambitions reignited. Don Jr. became the loud and unapologetic voice in the media, defending the Trump brand at every turn. Eric, in contrast, took on more of the operational load, managing the machinery of the empire. To some, it seemed like a natural transition. To others, a shrewd reshuffling of responsibilities. Either way, they were no longer shadows. They were front and center. And yet, Ivanka's absence from the stage never meant she had left the game entirely. According to insiders, her influence simply shifted arenas. It was no longer about podiums and cameras, but about intimate family dinners, hushed one-on-one calls, and quiet strategy sessions during evenings in Palm Beach. This was her new battlefield, one that allowed her to protect her peace while still keeping a hand on the family's compass. And isn't that what so many people strive for? The rare balance, stepping back without being shut out? In many ways, her quieter role brought stability. With everyone finding their lane, there was less rivalry, less jostling for the spotlight. Ivanka poured her energy into her children, her ventures, her life beyond politics, while her brothers fought the noisy public battles. And at the heart of it all, Donald Trump himself stood as the patriarch, sometimes clashing, sometimes coordinating, but always aware of where each child stood. So when people ask what really changed within the Trump family, the answer isn't scandal or collapse. It's evolution. Ivanka stepped back. Her brothers stepped forward. And the family, for all its battles, kept moving without breaking apart. In the end, it's not always about who shines the brightest in the public eye. Sometimes it's about who quietly shapes the direction from the shadows. For more than a year, Donald Trump has been the people's champion, and tonight he is once again their candidate. But what about Ivanka Trump? Take another look. Behind the designer heels and perfect smile lies a billionaire life built on ambition, controversy, and a cold, calculated kind of power. She isn't just Donald Trump's daughter. She is his polished, unstoppable legacy. From secret deals in the West Wing to a $400 million empire stretching from boardrooms to fashion catwalks, Ivanka played the game, and she played to win. Get ready to uncover 8 shocking truths about her rise to the top. The last one will leave you speechless. As Donald Trump mounts his 2024 re-election campaign, many are asking, where is Ivanka Trump? Once hailed as her father's female counterpart, she wasn't just a familiar face on the campaign trail. She was a power in her own right. Known for her sharp drive, unshakable calm, and prominent role as a senior White House advisor, Ivanka carved out her place at the decision-making table long before headlines named her the favorite Trump child. At just 19, she made Forbes' list of America's favorite daughters. By 2017, she was one of the world's most powerful women, not just in the White House, but shaping it from the inside. She was born into gold-plated privilege, but nothing was handed to her. Ivanka Trump, born in 1981 to Donald and Ivana Trump, the glamorous Czech model and Trump's first wife, grew up in a Manhattan world paved with marble floors, private schools, and designer childhoods. She shared her upbringing with her 2 brothers, Donald Jr. and Eric, and later with half-siblings Tiffany and Barron from her father's subsequent marriages. Yet despite the opulence, Ivanka was taught a hard truth early on. Luxury doesn't come free. Donald Trump paid for her tuition and basic living expenses, but everything else, she had to earn it. Modeling during high school wasn't a choice born of vanity, it was survival. She strutted down runways and posed for Tommy Hilfiger ads while maintaining a spotless academic record. And when she graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 2004 with a degree in economics, fluent in French and conversational in Italian, she was already laser-focused on building her own empire. Her first job wasn't sipping lattes at Trump Tower. It was rolling up her sleeves and proving herself. Ivanka began her professional career not with a silver spoon, but with a clipboard. She worked as a retail project manager at Forest City Ratner, a real estate development company in Brooklyn. It was a humbling position that demanded long hours, real grit, and results, not family name. But just a year later, she joined the Trump Organization. And when she did, she didn't just inherit an office, she earned a title. Ivanka quickly rose to become Executive Vice President of Development and Acquisitions, not because she was Donald Trump's daughter, but because she was sharp, relentless, and had her father's business instincts pulsing through her veins. She played a pivotal role in negotiating a jaw-dropping $1 billion deal to acquire Trump National Doral Miami for just $150 million. Alongside her brothers, she helped transform the Trump Hotel collection into a global luxury brand. And through it all, she wasn't just in the boardroom, she was in the trenches. Her style was polished, her confidence effortless. But behind the grace was a strategist, a force. Ivanka's elegance came with calculation. Inherited from her mother, Ivana's poise and European charm, Ivanka combined that with Donald's commanding presence and unshakable drive. Her negotiation skills were more than natural. She had trained for them since childhood, absorbing boardroom conversations the way other kids absorb cartoons. In 2014, her sharp business acumen earned her a coveted spot on Fortune's 40 Under 40 list. And that same year, the World Economic Forum named her a young global leader. But Ivanka wasn't done. She wanted to prove she was more than her father's deputy. In 2007, she launched her own lifestyle brand, one that mirrored her polished image but was rooted in real ambition. Jewelry, shoes, handbags, and fashion, with the unmistakable Trump edge. Her empire grew fast. By 2010, her shoe line became a runaway success, carried in department stores across North America. She was no longer just Ivanka Trump, the daughter. She was Ivanka Trump, the brand. She wasn't just selling luxury, she was living it, molding it, making it her own. Ivanka's brand wasn't built on fame alone. It was built on perception, precision, and relentless discipline. While others saw the glamour, Ivanka saw spreadsheets, logistics, market gaps. Her fashion line, boots that meant business, dresses that whispered power, was a message. Women could be feminine and formidable at once. She knew the balance. She embodied it. But the runway wasn't the final destination. As the political spotlight turned to her father in 2015, Ivanka quietly stepped away from her thriving business to enter a world far less predictable, the White House. And not as a figurehead, but as a voice, a woman with a seat at the table. No longer behind the scenes, she stepped into the glare of the most watched stage on earth, and did it with a poise that felt rehearsed yet deeply authentic. Inside the White House, she wasn't just the president's daughter, she was one of his most trusted advisors. At meetings with world leaders, during policy discussions, at moments of chaos and calm, Ivanka Trump's presence was both striking and strategic. She carried herself with the elegance of a diplomat, the composure of a veteran, and the intuition of a daughter who knew her father better than anyone else. She wasn't there because of her last name. She earned her space with sharp insight and a rare ability to translate emotion into action. No one understands him like she does, aides would say. And it was true. While critics questioned her role, Ivanka quietly shaped initiatives on women's empowerment, entrepreneurship, and global development. Her office was filled not with glamour, but with binders, drafts, and late-night memos. She worked the long hours, took the tough meetings, and bore the public scrutiny with a serenity that was almost impossible to imitate. She wasn't just cheering from the sidelines. Ivanka was in the war room, helping to shape the 2016 campaign from the inside out. Behind closed doors, while the media focused on the spectacle of Donald Trump's rise, Ivanka was quietly guiding strategy, tempering rhetoric, and offering counsel that few others dared to give. She advised her father on optics, how to appear presidential, how to connect with suburban women, how to soften edges without losing impact. She even weighed in on potential vice presidential picks and helped steer key decisions that would later reshape the Republican Party. When Trump finally secured victory, it wasn't just his name that won, it was a family effort, and Ivanka was at its center. In that moment, she didn't just step into a new era, she stepped into history. By the time her father became president, Ivanka was no longer just a businesswoman or a style icon. She was a full-fledged political force. Despite the outcry over nepotism, she was appointed senior advisor to the president and took on a formal, unpaid role in the White House. Alongside her husband, Jared Kushner, she moved to Washington, D.C., stepping into the high-pressure cauldron of both domestic and global diplomacy. But even before her title was official, she was already attending high-level meetings, engaging with foreign dignitaries, and shaping major policy initiatives. Media outlets couldn't ignore her growing influence. The New York Times even remarked she held more power than any first daughter or presidential aide before her. To many, Ivanka wasn't just part of the administration, she was the administration's calming center of gravity. While Melania remained reserved and enigmatic, Ivanka took center stage, poised, articulate, and politically influential. She wasn't just the first daughter by birth. She became the de facto first lady in many ways. From campaign rallies to West Wing strategy meetings, Ivanka often filled the space that Melania left quiet. But Ivanka was not just famous. She had long been a vocal advocate for women's empowerment. In 2010, she co-created the Girl Up campaign with the United Nations, using proceeds from her signature bracelet line to fund global programs for girls. She pushed for more women in STEM fields and launched initiatives aimed at economic inclusion. Her 2017 book, Women Who Work, offered both practical advice and a new perspective on modern womanhood. Through the Ivanka Trump Foundation, she poured resources into educational programs and vocational training, blending elegance with impact. Her influence extended far beyond photo ops and red carpet glamour. Ivanka became the human face of her father's administration. While critics called the Trump White House chaotic, Ivanka brought balance, poise, and an almost shocking level of composure to the storm. As first daughter, she symbolized the next generation of Trump leadership, and some even believed she might run for office herself one day. Yet, in a stunning twist after her father left office, Ivanka didn't stay in the spotlight. No farewell speech, no final rally, just quiet, family, peace. She stepped back, away from the whirlwind of U.S. politics, in a move that both shocked and intrigued the world. Their marriage wasn't just a union of two hearts, but of two dynasties, and the result was pure power. Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, both born into privileged, ambitious families, seemed destined to collide. To many, their romance appeared inevitable, but behind the polished exterior was a story far from ordinary. As Jared later revealed in his memoir, Breaking History, their love didn't spark at a gala or socialite ball. It began at what was supposed to be a simple business meeting in 2007. But instead of dry corporate talk, the two fell into effortless conversation. No pretense, no performance, just a connection. One lunch turned into another, and before long, their lives intertwined in coffee shop chats, shared dreams, and unspoken understanding. In a decision that stunned many, Ivanka made a profound choice. She converted to Judaism for the man she loved. After a year of dating, religious differences had briefly torn them apart. But fate, as if scripted by destiny, brought them back together during a luxurious yacht vacation hosted by Wendy Murdoch, ex-wife of media mogul Rupert Murdoch. It wasn't just the ocean breeze or the glittering lights of the water. It was the undeniable bond that reignited their love. This time, they didn't let go. And in a gesture of love, of lifelong commitment, Ivanka began the rigorous process of Orthodox Jewish conversion. It wasn't a formality, it was a journey of devotion. In October 2009, she and Jared said "I do" in a lavish ceremony at the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Surrounded by 500 guests and bathed in candlelight, it wasn't just a wedding, it was the birth of a partnership built on faith, family, and fierce loyalty. Nearly 15 years have passed, and Ivanka and Jared remain unshakably united, balancing public life with private devotion while raising three beautiful children: Arabella Rose, Joseph Frederick, and Theodore James. From their early days sneaking out for coffee dates in Manhattan to walking the polished halls of the White House, their love story has never been ordinary. But it was in their shared commitment as parents that their bond deepened most. They built a home where bedtime stories mattered just as much as boardroom strategies, where family dinners remained sacred even amidst political firestorms. Jared once said, "Our best investment is our children." And for Ivanka, motherhood isn't a break from ambition, it's a legacy in motion. Behind every school run, every whispered prayer at night, and every photograph she posts from their sunlit family weekends, lies a choice to put family first and to build something far greater than fortune, a lasting foundation of love. Born into wealth in Livingston, New Jersey, Jared Kushner was raised in one of the most influential Jewish families on the East Coast. By the age of 30, he had already taken the reins of Kushner Companies, a multi-billion-dollar real estate investment empire with his personal net worth estimated at over $200 million. Jared wasn't flashy. He didn't hunger for headlines or chase the limelight the way Ivanka had mastered. Instead, he was the mind behind the moves, calm, methodical, unshakably composed. It wasn't just real estate he mastered. Jared became one of the most trusted advisors to Donald Trump during his presidency, especially when it came to the most sensitive and complex issues in global diplomacy. From orchestrating historic peace agreements in the Middle East to negotiating back-channel dialogues with international leaders, Jared's portfolio resembled that of a diplomat more than a developer. While critics debated his qualifications, few could deny the magnitude of his influence within the West Wing. Unlike Trump's larger-than-life presence, Jared operated almost invisibly, yet with astonishing efficacy. His calm demeanor and laser-sharp focus offered a stark contrast to Washington's chaos, making him a rare, stabilizing force in a world that often spun too fast. Jared Kushner's influence didn't stop at politics or real estate. It extended deep into the upper echelons of Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and Hollywood. Through him, Ivanka gained access to a glittering world of power brokers, billionaires, and innovators. This wasn't just privilege. It was proximity to the most influential people alive. Jared's inner circle included titans like billionaire investor Leon Black, a man whose past ties to Jeffrey Epstein stirred controversy, as well as tech moguls like Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg and Google's Larry Page. And Ivanka? She adapted seamlessly. A social chameleon, she moved easily between worlds, from policy meetings in the West Wing to private dinners with Oprah Winfrey, or exclusive galas hosted by the Kardashian-Jenner clan. These weren't just social appearances. They were calculated connections. Ivanka knew how to play the game, and play it well. Her friendships were more than social currency. They were a strategic blend of influence, image, and intent. Among the most talked about connections was her enduring friendship with Kim Kardashian. As Kim began working with the Trump administration on criminal justice reform, their alliance grew deeper. Two media powerhouses bonding over more than just fashion. They vacationed together. They appeared at high-profile fundraising events. And in those elite circles of American celebrity, Ivanka and Jared were not guests. They were hosts. Step into Ivanka Trump's $24 million dream home in Miami, and you're stepping into a world of deliberate luxury, tucked away on the ultra-exclusive Indian Creek Island, often dubbed the Billionaire's Bunker. This waterfront estate is not just a house, it's a statement. Before moving in, Ivanka and Jared reportedly spent $32.2 million on a nearby empty lot, once owned by Julio Iglesias. But it was this villa that captured their hearts. The estate reflects a seamless fusion of old money sophistication and modern glamour. The crown jewel? A sprawling resort-style pool surrounded by carefully manicured greenery and calming water features. It's more than a backyard. It's a wellness retreat, a sanctuary where power pauses for peace. Ivanka often shares serene moments from this oasis on Instagram, meditating under palm trees, watching her kids laugh barefoot on the sleek stone tiles, or hosting candlelit birthday dinners beneath a sky full of stars. Inside, the dining room looks like it was lifted straight out of an Architectural Digest spread, a blend of European opulence and minimalist serenity. Her wardrobe, a personal vault of elegance. Tiffany, Dior, Hermes, more than accessories, they're armor. Ivanka doesn't just wear luxury, she curates it. Her jewelry collection is a museum of timeless pieces, including a $75,000 Tiffany diamond necklace, a delicate 18K gold Elsa Peretti bangle, and a bold rose Vence Dior pendant worth $30,000. Ivanka Trump's home is not about showing off, it's about showing who's in control. Quiet luxury, calculated choices, everything in her world whispers influence. And here, far from Washington, among the salt air and polished stones, she is not just a former first daughter, she is the queen of her own empire. When Ivanka Trump steps into a room, every detail whispers power, especially what she wears on her wrist and what she drives. Her accessories are not mere adornments, they are declarations. Her style speaks fluent luxury, and her collection of watches, jewels, and cars is nothing short of spectacular. This isn't about extravagance for the sake of it. For Ivanka, each item is carefully chosen, a blend of status, meaning, and legacy. Among her prized possessions is the Rolex Day-Date President, an 18-karat yellow gold statement of timeless authority valued between $40,000 and $50,000. Another classic, the Datejust 36 with a diamond bezel, effortlessly elegant at around $25,000. But she doesn't stop at Rolex. Her Cartier collection includes the Blue Ballon, with its signature sapphire crown and bejeweled face, as well as the striking white gold Panther, a watch valued at nearly $40,000. These aren't timepieces, they're power plays. And then there are the cars, symbols of motion and power. Ivanka doesn't just sit in the back seat of black SUVs, she drives. Her garage boasts a Dodge Ram, a $160,000 beast that defies expectations for a woman of her class. It's not a soccer mom car, it's a statement of strength. Then there's the GMC Yukon, a $270,000 executive class SUV with room for 8 and style for days. She was spotted behind the wheel earlier this year, sunglasses on, kids in tow, effortlessly powerful. Not to be outdone, she also owns a $275,000 Chevrolet Suburban, bold, sleek, and commanding, and the crown jewel of her car collection, a Mercedes 220 SA Ponton, a vintage sedan now worth nearly $250,000. Classic curves, timeless grace, modern empire. Ivanka Trump doesn't flaunt her wealth. She embodies it. Every diamond, every gear shift, every tick of the clock is a reflection of how far she's come. Her arsenal of elegance is built not just on inheritance, but intention. And that's what makes her story resonate. Not just opulence, but ownership. While Ivanka dazzled in the spotlight, Jared Kushner mastered the shadows. A man of few words but decisive influence, Jared didn't need loud speeches or press conferences to make his presence known. He operated where power is quietest but most potent, behind closed doors, in strategy rooms, at the crossroads of politics, diplomacy, and billion-dollar business. Born in 1981 into one of the most powerful Jewish families in the Northeast, Jared grew up surrounded by wealth, legacy, and expectation. By 2015, he was already helming Kushner Companies, a real estate empire valued at over $7 billion and managing a personal fortune estimated at $200 million. But those numbers were only part of his story. His real influence was just beginning. As Donald Trump stepped into the Oval Office, Jared Kushner stepped into history. He wasn't just a son-in-law. He became a senior advisor to the President of the United States. And not by accident, Trump trusted Jared with the most sensitive, high-stakes issues of his administration: Middle East peace, criminal justice reform, U.S.-China relations. These weren't side tasks. They were legacy-defining missions. While critics questioned his experience, few could deny his results. Jared was instrumental in negotiating the Abraham Accords, a series of groundbreaking peace agreements between Israel and Arab nations. He also engaged deeply in modernizing government tech infrastructure and even served as a bridge between Trump and Silicon Valley's elite. Yet through it all, he remained elusive, silent, polished. Jared rarely gave interviews. He wasn't seen ranting on television or trending on social media. Instead, he cultivated an aura of mystery. While Trump shouted, Jared whispered, and sometimes the whisper moved nations. His relationship with Ivanka was more than marriage. It was a true political alliance. Together, they balanced each other, her charisma and social power, his discretion and calculation. She walked the red carpet, he walked the back halls. She charmed the cameras, he charmed the negotiators. This was not the life of a mere advisor. This was the life of a kingmaker. And Jared Kushner, for all his silence, may have shaped more of America's recent history than we realize. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers behind golden gates, wrapped in palm leaves and ocean breeze. When Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner quietly stepped away from Washington, they didn't vanish. They evolved. And where did they retreat to? Not to a hideaway, but to a kingdom. Their new sanctuary, a $24 million waterfront mansion in the ultra-exclusive Indian Creek Island, Miami. Nicknamed the Billionaire Bunker, it's not just a home, it's a statement. Before moving in, they stunned the real estate world by purchasing a $32.2 million plot of land from none other than Julio Iglesias. But it was this mansion that captured their hearts, where modern opulence meets timeless elegance. The estate boasts panoramic ocean views, spa-style pools, marble finishes, and lush gardens meticulously curated like a scene from a fantasy. It's more than a residence, it's a lifestyle, curated, calculated, and quietly extravagant. Ivanka now fills her days with family, wellness, and quiet moments under the Florida sun. Her Instagram is less politics, more palm trees. Gone are the policy meetings, replaced by paddleboarding with Arabella, reading with Joseph, laughing with Theodore. She hasn't abandoned influence. She simply redefined it. Inside the mansion's private dining room, which looks straight out of Architectural Digest, Ivanka hosted her last birthday. Surrounded by candlelight, white flowers, and the people she loves, she looked more peaceful than she ever did in D.C. It wasn't about stepping away from power. It was about stepping into purpose. The $75,000 Tiffany necklace, the $40,000 Dior rings, the Cartier watches and Mercedes classics in her garage. None of it was ever just about wealth. For Ivanka Trump, these are tools, symbols of taste, discipline, and yes, legacy. A silent empire built not only on name, but on nuance. And in that $24 million dream home, she's still building. One choice at a time. Ivanka Trump's story isn't just a tale of fashion runways and White House hallways. It's the saga of a woman born into power, who learned to master it with grace and then chose to walk away with her head held high. She didn't need applause to validate her worth. She had already redefined it, from Manhattan penthouses to diplomatic meetings in Riyadh, from the spotlight of political campaigns to the quiet gardens of Indian Creek. Ivanka has lived multiple lifetimes, all in the span of 4 decades. She has been a daughter, a mother, an advisor, a mogul, a symbol, and a woman of paradox. Both public and private, glamorous yet grounded, privileged yet persistent. She has been called the president's daughter. But make no mistake, Ivanka Trump carved her own name into history. And maybe that's the most powerful legacy of all. Not what she inherited, but what she built. As we close this final chapter, we're left with more than headlines. We're left with questions, with awe, and perhaps with inspiration. Could Ivanka return one day? Will she run for office? Or has she already said everything she needed to in silence? And now it's your turn. What do you admire most about Ivanka Trump? What surprised you the most about her journey? Do you think she's done with politics? Or is this just the calm before the next storm? Let's talk in the comments. I read every word you share. If this journey moved you even a little, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because more stories like this are coming. And together we'll keep exploring the lives behind the headlines. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this story. We're not just telling a tale, we're honoring a legacy. While America burned with protests in Los Angeles, Ivanka Trump was gliding across the waves under the golden sun of Miami. No press conference, no statement, just a reel. Bikini, surfboard, perfect smile, and a nation asking, does she not care? Or, is this the smartest image play we've seen all year? Because when it comes to Ivanka Trump, silence is never just silence. It's a calculated wave, part of a bigger storm. She once walked the marbled halls of the White House, advising the President of the United States. Her own father. Poised, powerful, polished. Ivanka Trump wasn't just a daughter. She was the face of modern conservative femininity. But now she wakes up to sunrise over the water, takes her kids paddleboarding, lights a candle before yoga, and disappears into the calm blue of Miami. Gone are the power suits. Gone is the political fire. In their place, swimsuits, smoothies, and serenity. Because Ivanka didn't vanish. She transformed to a $24 million waterfront villa on Indian Creek, a private island so exclusive they call it Billionaire's bunker. Only 41 residents, 24/7 armed security, and neighbors who include CEOs, sports stars, and sheikhs. And right in the center of it all, Ivanka, not as the first daughter, but as the new queen of quiet luxury. It was just a short Instagram reel, no more than 15 seconds. Ivanka in a white bikini, laughing as she rides a wave off Miami's coast. The sun glistening on the water, her kids cheering from the shore. But timing is everything. Because while Ivanka was basking in the sun, thousands of protesters were flooding the streets of Los Angeles. Anger, injustice, sirens echoing. And just as the headlines screamed, "America in crisis," Ivanka posted a reel with the caption, "Grateful for days like this." Screenshots spread like wildfire. Twitter exploded. TikTok stitched it. And the comments came pouring in. So disconnected. She's not a politician anymore. Let her live. Classic white privilege. The internet didn't just scroll past, it froze. Because Ivanka wasn't just being carefree. To some, she was being tone deaf. To others, she was genius. The internet didn't stay silent. From Yahoo News to Daily Mail, from Vanity Fair to viral Reddit threads, the reel became a headline, a symbol, a spark. Ivanka's tone-deaf beach moment goes viral. While America burns, Ivanka surfs. What message is she trying to send? What followed wasn't just online noise. It was a cultural debate, because if an Instagram influencer posted that same video, she'd be praised. Goals, sunshine goddess, living her best life. But this wasn't just anyone. This was Ivanka Trump, the first daughter, a former senior White House advisor. And suddenly, every wave she rode became political. Why the double standard? One tweet put it plainly. If it were any other woman, she'd be trending for all the right reasons. But because it's Ivanka, she's trending for all the wrong ones. Being famous isn't just about followers. It's about scrutiny. And when your last job was in the West Wing, you don't just post a beach day, you trigger a national conversation. Was it just a beach day or the beginning of something much bigger? Because Ivanka Trump wasn't always the woman on a surfboard. Once she was the epitome of power dressing. Sharp blazers, sleek buns, a voice in the Oval Office. She sat at global summits, led White House initiatives, was called the real First Lady by some. But now she's barefoot in the sand, smiling in the sun, drinking green smoothies, meditating under palm trees. A drastic shift or a brilliant rebrand? Ivanka 2.0, that's what some are calling it. A soft, clean, wellness-centric version of the once iron-willed advisor. A mother, a minimalist, a woman reborn. But the timing, the messaging, it all feels calculated, especially when you look at Planet Harvest, a clean energy startup she's quietly funding. It's not a random investment. It aligns perfectly with her new image. Eco, ethical, evolved. Even the paddleboarding, the yoga, the healthy eating, they're not just lifestyle choices, they're statements. They say, I'm not part of the chaos anymore. I'm peace, I'm purity, I'm the future now. So maybe this wasn't tone deaf at all. Maybe it was pitch perfect. They call it Billionaire's Bunker. Indian Creek Island, just 41 homes, a private police force, guarded 24/7. Accessible by one bridge and one marina. This isn't just where Ivanka Trump lives. It's where she disappears, carefully, quietly, luxuriously. Her neighbors, NFL owners, fashion moguls, tech billionaires. Even Julio Iglesias used to live here. But it's not the glitz that matters. It's the control. Indian Creek is where you go to be seen by no one. Her $24 million villa isn't just real estate. It's strategy, a private dock for Jared's boat, a massive yard for the kids, palm trees for privacy, and the calm, constant hum of exclusivity. Compared to Mar-a-Lago, this isn't about power, it's about peace. Not Trump rallies, not political dinners, just sunrise yoga and family swims. But don't be fooled, this quiet retreat might just be the perfect place to plan a comeback. far from the cameras, yet close to everything. She said it clearly, "I love my father, but this time I choose my children." And with that, Ivanka Trump disappeared from the political front lines. No campaign, no rallies, no mega hat, just a mother smiling in the sun, baking with her kids, kayaking in calm waters. But is that all? Behind the beachy Instagram and wellness smoothies, there's movement, private meetings, charity fundraisers, venture capital dinners, a quiet presence in powerful rooms. She's not speaking in political slogans anymore, but she's still being heard. Insiders say Ivanka is carefully building a new version of herself, one that's soft, non-political, globally appealing. A clean brand, mom, philanthropist, businesswoman, not the daughter of a president, but a woman of her own. We've won, because the next comeback won't look like the last one. It won't start at a Trump Tower podium. It may begin with a brand, a movement, a cause. And by the time we notice it's political, it may be too late to stop. A scandalous Instagram reel, a sunlit villa on Billionaire's Island, smoothies, surfboards, yoga with a view. That's all we're meant to see. But behind the lens, a rebrand may be quietly taking shape. Ivanka Trump, the former first daughter, once hailed as the face of conservative feminism, has become something else. Softer, glossier, less Washington, more wellness. So we ask, is this Ivanka simply living her life, away from politics, finally free? Or is this the most emotional, calculated comeback we've seen in years? You tell us. Is Ivanka Trump now just a happy mom on the beach? Or a strategist slowly walking back to power? One wave at a time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next episode is all about the Trump family's game plan for 2025. It's bigger than you think. While America is distracted by inflation, by protests in the streets, by the drama of elections and indictments, one woman has been building something far more powerful, not in fashion, not in politics, but in food, in your kitchen, in your grocery store, in your future. Her name? Ivanka Trump, and she might have just hacked the American food chain without anyone noticing. Welcome, to Planet Harvest. She never held a press conference. She never tweeted a photo in a lab coat. And yet, behind the walls of private equity firms and anonymous venture capital funds, a silent revolution was underway, one backed by Ivanka Trump. According to multiple leaked documents and insider whispers, Ivanka has quietly poured millions into next-generation food technologies, industries that promise not just profit, but the power to reshape how the world eats. At the center of this mystery, a startup known in Silicon Valley as Planet Harvest. On paper, it's just another agri-tech company. But look deeper, and it reveals something far more audacious. Planet Harvest is not about corn and soybeans. It's about vertical farming, growing crops in towers that rise like glass cathedrals in abandoned warehouses. It's about lab-grown meat, beef without slaughter, protein without pasture. And it's about control over what we grow, how we grow it, and who decides what ends up on your plate. While the public saw Ivanka vacationing in Miami or walking her dog in silence, behind the scenes, her money and her influence were planting the seeds of a new food order. Some say it's innovation. Others whisper it's infiltration. But one thing is clear. Ivanka Trump is not just investing in the future of food. She might be engineering it. But there's one name that keeps resurfacing in whispers: Elon Musk. According to leaked communications from a venture incubator in Texas, Planet Harvest has been quietly collaborating with teams linked to SpaceX, exploring one radical idea: farming on Mars. No press release, no press coverage, just fragments, emails, diagrams, and logistics reports, pointing to one unthinkable experiment: testing vertical farming modules in simulated Martian conditions. If true, it would mean that Ivanka Trump's influence has gone beyond Earth, and that Planet Harvest is not just growing food for our planet, but preparing for the next one. In today's world, food is more than survival. It's leverage, it's control, it's power. Whoever controls the food supply controls the people. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a quiet truth that the world's richest have already acted on. Take Bill Gates, a tech mogul who became the largest private owner of farmland in America. He didn't just buy land, he bought influence over what we grow, how we grow it, and who benefits. And now, some say Ivanka is following the same blueprint. Quiet, strategic, focused. While headlines chase the scandals, she's buying leverage. In Florida and Texas, real estate records reveal a pattern. Anonymous purchases of farmland, warehousing, and vertical agri-facilities, all linked subtly to Trump family trusts and shell companies. This isn't just farming, this is consolidation of influence in food, land, and people's daily lives. Ivanka Trump's influence in food didn't start with Planet Harvest. It started in Washington. During the Trump administration, Ivanka maintained close ties with the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, particularly during internal talks about overhauling the nation's food assistance programs. She championed the controversial Harvest Box Initiative, a plan to replace traditional SNAP food stamp benefits with government-issued food boxes filled with shelf-stable items. The goal? Efficiency, nutrition, and, critics argued, centralized control. Ivanka framed it as dignified delivery for struggling families, but many saw it as a Trojan horse for corporate food partnerships. And now, in 2024, whispers are growing louder. Sources close to the Trump campaign say Ivanka is back, not on stage but behind the scenes. An unofficial advisor, a strategist. Her focus? Farmers, supply chains, and America First food independence. Everything she touched before may be coming back, only bigger. Not everyone is buying the future of food narrative. Environmental activists have raised the alarm. Vertical farms consume massive energy. Lab-grown meat demands high-tech labs and synthetic inputs. What happens to small farmers? What happens to nature? Critics see Planet Harvest not as innovation, but as a calculated takeover of agriculture by elites in Silicon Valley suits and Palm Beach pearls. Online, a movement is growing. Don't let them own your food. It's no longer just about products, it's about power. Who grows your food? Who owns your seeds? Your land? Whispers have become louder. Is Ivanka Trump, through Planet Harvest, quietly manipulating the food economy to control policy itself? A corporate venture? A political chess move? Or a long game to shape the way Americans live, eat, and vote? What if Planet Harvest is just the beginning? Analysts and political watchers are connecting the dots. Ivanka's quiet moves aren't just investments. They mirror a blueprint: technology, land, policy. While the media is focused on headlines and scandals, the Trump family may be pivoting from the White House to the warehouse, from ballots to silos. Is this the Trump comeback, rewritten as an agricultural empire? A new dynasty, not through laws, but through logistics? Some believe this is their long game. Ivanka steps out of the political spotlight, only to build the machinery that feeds it. And if that's true, Planet Harvest is not a food startup. It's a strategic move in a much larger game. For years, Ivanka Trump was seen as a fashion icon, a political daughter, a silent partner in power. But what if we've all been looking in the wrong direction? While the world debated her fashion choices and public appearances, she may have been building something far more permanent, a place not in politics, but in your pantry. Planet Harvest is no longer a rumor. It's a signal that the future of food and who controls it is up for grabs. The question is no longer what will we eat, but rather, who decides? Ivanka Trump may never return to the White House. But if she controls what's on your plate, does she need to? Do you think food is just food, or is it now a tool of power? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to American Adventure, because this story is only just beginning.